Order. You all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Culpepper.
Present.
Dr. Denson.
Present.
Mr. Griffiths.
Here.
Mr. Huntington.
Present.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Ms. Mia is excused. Mr. Willis.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum to conduct business this evening.
Okay, thank you. Can I have approval of the agenda, please?
I would move for the approval of the agenda dated September 25, 2019.
Second.
Have a motion for approval by Commissioner Willis, seconded by Commissioner Denson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda passes as stated. Any announcements, communications?
Yeah, I do have two announcements ahead of our items on the rest of the agenda. If you recall, we did earlier this month have a meeting with regard to the Farmbrook project. That was for the apartments. Because we now feel that that particular project is ready to move forward, and there were still some issues with regard to density and other items, staff is recommending that we postpone both PZR 18-0003 and PSP 18-007 to a date certain, that being your October 23rd regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper.
I also move that PZR 18-003 and PSP 18-007 be postponed to a date certain, October the 23rd.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Culpepper, supported by Commissioner Willis, to reschedule this for a date certain, which is October 23rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll be moved to October 23rd. I have a statement I'd like to read into the record.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, did you make a motion just on the rezoning request, or did you make a motion on both?
I made a motion on both.
On both, okay, thank you.
Thank you, welcome.
The Southfield Planning Commission is a 7-member board appointed by the mayor, approved by the city council, that acts in an advisory capacity to the council to make recommendations on text amendments to the Southfield zoning ordinance, rezoning requests, special land uses, site plan reviews, the Southfield master plan, and the capital improvement plan. All study meetings and regular meetings are open to the public in accordance with the Open Meeting Act, PA 267 of 1976, and are held on Wednesday evenings at 6:30. Meeting agendas are posted the Friday evening before the next Wednesday meeting and are available for viewing at cityofsouthfield.com. Copies of plans, text amendments, the master plan, the capital improvement plan are available for viewing at the planning department offices, and current projects can be viewed using our online interactive tool on the planning department's homepage. Planning department projects online. Contact the building department at 248-796-4150 with questions, Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Okay. First on the agenda, we have PSLU 19-006.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a special use request of Abraham Harden to allow for the use of residential structures for non-residential purposes, properties located 16905, 16915 West 12 Mile Road. These properties on the south side of 12 Mile between Glasgow and Stewart. The accompanying PSP is PSP 19-0005, which is a site plan review request to allow for the construction of an addition between two existing houses to create one building of 2,049 square feet. I will be presenting at least both the special use and the site plan at the same time. you'll be required to hold a public hearing on the special land use portion. The site plan does not require any kind of response from the public. So we would ask that you, once we get done with our portion, you have the public hearing portion, that you then render your decision on each one of those items, the special use first, and then the site plan after.
Okay.
So with regard to, and just give us a moment so we can get the PowerPoint ready here. Okay, so for the special use portion, so these are the two properties in question, southwest corner of 12 Mile and Glasgow. This is a little closer rendition of that so you can see what the sites actually look like. So the proposal before you from a special use standpoint is to allow the use of the properties for an office type use within the residential zoning district. You can do that through a special use portion as long as the buildings are more than 2,000 square feet. So the proposal was to take both of these houses, keep the houses, tear down the two garages, and then add an addition between the two houses, thus meeting the requirement for over 2,000 square feet. This kind of gives you an idea up and down the street of adjoining uses. Property currently zoned OS office service, and the future land use allows for local mixed use. With that, staff doesn't have anything more from a presentation standpoint until after the public hearing.
If I could, through the chair, it might be appropriate to let the applicant make some comments first before you open the public hearing.
Okay. Can we have the petitioner please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Abraham Hardan, Hardan. Address is 33778 Twickenham Drive, Sterling Heights, Michigan, 48310. All I want to talk about is the purpose of this facility that we have to, or we want to apply to get approval to use it as an office, is mainly to organize and expedite the traffic flow for this area. We all heard and listened to the neighbors' complaints, and that wasn't against us, that's against the clients of the Iraqi consulate. Maybe it wasn't the best choice for the Iraqi consulate to be there, but we're trying to do something to eliminate this trouble, and which is the traffic and all these parking violations by these cars. So organization and expedite the client service is our main priority to do and take care of. The parking, you guys allowed us up to 17 parkings. It's all going to be used for those people who will attend or will come to the Iraqi consulate. Even if they don't have to go through our services, we will allow them. Any overflow from the consulate, we will allow it. We talked about the 15 cars because we will use about 2 cars for our employees. 15 cars, maybe we can get them in and out in 15 to 20 minutes. So that's over 45 cars in an hour. We don't expect that much flow in these days. The main concerns maybe the neighbors were about the first 3 months up to 4 months in the year, where everybody wants to attend or come to the Iraqi consulate and get their life certificates and then power of attorneys to any businesses conducted in Iraq. So we're gonna help to solve that problem. We're gonna alleviate and ease the traffic flow, and that's the main problem I think the neighbors having, is the parking. The other thing is safety. People are attending there and they find out that they need other stuff to be done, applications or photos, and they start walking on the sidewalks. And if the sidewalks are blocked because of snow, they will cross the street and walk on the median lanes. they go to the other 2 offices in the area or 3 offices. So we're gonna, emphasize on safety. Once they park there, they just cross Glasgow. Maybe not everybody will have to cross, since the people attending the Iraqi Council, they come in flocks, they come in families, multiple, persons in one car, so they might, stay in our facility, wait for their head of the household maybe to attend. So safety, organization, privacy, we will have all the requirements to have this parking lot isolated maybe from the neighbors by the walls. And of course, we kind of keep it clean, and we will have all the requirements for the utility for this, any services that the clients or the customers require, such as, using bathrooms or changing rooms and what have you. I'm open to any questions.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so I'd like to take this time to open it up to the public. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this matter, please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
You may be seated.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioners. My name is Ghana Gowindai. My address is 2 Norfolk Town Street, Southfield, Michigan, 48075. It was brought to my attention that they were trying to get the 2 homes. And my question is, will that be available to the public as well for copying and printing? And I know it was explained to me that it's not a part of the consulate, but it's to assist the consulate, because the residents still are having issues with the parking and everything. My second question is, does the owner of these 2 properties, do they work for the consulate? Are they a part of the consulate? As well as, is there any way, when they have their peak seasons, that they could hire some security to direct the traffic so that they won't park in the no parking zones and hinder the residents in that area? Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, through the chair, excuse me, ma'am? Yes. Can you repeat your address, please?
It's the number 2 Norfolk, N-O-R-F-L-F-O-L-K, Town, T-O-W-N-E, Street, Southfield, Michigan, 48075.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. Would you like to address those questions?
Yes.
Through the chair,
Yes.
it might be appropriate to close the public hearing first,
Okay, you want?
and then the applicant can address
Okay.
any comments that you might have.
Okay, is there anyone else looking to speak this evening? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Okay.
Hello again. To answer the question, if it's going to be open to the public, we will be an, I will say, office service, so anybody can come. Yes, we cannot designate it only to the clients of the consulate. The main work or business will come from the consulate's clients or attendants. We will be an office service for whoever want to come. We're not going to discriminate. But we doubt that anyone will drive through 12 Mile and stop to make a copy at a copy shop like us, just because they're everywhere. But I mean, yes, we will open for them too. And of course, they're more than welcome to use our, of course, parking. I'm sorry, what's the second question? I think was the ownership of the second property?
Right.
No, they don't work to at the consulate. So the third one, I think about security. The consulate, as far as we know, the first 3 months to 4 months, they hired a private security company to keep the people from parking on the streets and have them parking either at the consulate or wait their turn or go somewhere where it's allowed to prevent neighbors from complaining. I know that for a fact. I talked to some people in there. They do that at the beginning of the year. And if I missed anything, please ask me. They probably, I just want to touch something also. They talked about the snow removal and snow plowing. We talked to 2 companies that from the area that we can use, and they recommended pushing the snow into our parking lot, keep it in there by the non-used parkings. We can pile it there on the snowing days, so it's not going to be plowed to the street or against the fire hydrant as the neighbor were complaining last time.
Okay.
And through the chair, just as a follow-up to our work study session, you can maybe confirm or disprove the fact that the Iraqi consulate was going to open possibly 2 other locations, one in Dearborn and one in Detroit, that might help Sterling Heights.
They were like service centers, we were told, to absorb the pressure that they get on the first 3 months of the year. So they will have Sterling Heights and Dearborn locations to take applications on those months.
Okay, Commissioner Willis?
Thank you. I want to make sure I heard right. I believe the question was, would you have a person there to direct traffic so that people would park in places that's legal and not interfering with traffic? I think you responded that there was a guard service you tried, and so I just want to get your answer. Would there be anyone?
We talked about it at the beginning, having a parking attendant. We can manage to have one, or one of the employees should be involved once it's overflown. So once there is a pressure on the parking, we will have a designated parking attendants. But the time being, we don't know how much that we will be able to hire right now. But yes, it's something we looked at and something we talked about, to have a parking attendant, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Denson?
Thank you. So you said that you will allow people to come in and make copies, but that's what's the use of that? Is it office or retail or?
Through the chair, reproductive services are permitted in the OS district as a special land use, right? As a permitted use. But the special land use is because this was formerly residential that's being converted to office.
Okay.
So reproductive services is a permitted use in the OS district.
Okay. And also, is the planning staff are okay with the not real estate ownership? I know it was a big to do this the first time.
The owners, again, to the properties,
Yeah.
not involved with the Iraqi consulate,
Right.
not employees?
Right.
No.
But I think you stated that the title was in your sister's name?
Yes.
Yeah. When you're done with your questions, we are going to go through all of the special land use requirements and give comment on each one of those
Yeah.
before you make your decision.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Griffiths?
The 2 houses and then the addition and then the parking lot improvements, do you have a total investment in this new office building? One, and because it seems fairly significant for the size of the property. And then I'm just trying to wrap my head around how you spend whatever that number is. And I don't know, how do you pay for it? And how does it make sense as a business, just as if it's any office in the world, does it ever pay for itself? I guess is where I'm coming up short.
Yeah, as you said, it's going to be a hefty investment in there. Beside all the work, I mean, the properties are paid for, so it's more about the construction part. We're looking into spending maybe 150,000 to 200 for improvements. That should generate us a business enough to run for the few years, and then the profits will come. As far as the Iraqi consulate, we know it's going to be there, and the attendance, if not increasing, there are already a lot of them, and they're coming from different states. So majority of our business is going to come from them, and I think it will be okay for us to operate. Yes, it will pay itself.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin?
Do you plan on having any signage indicating that your parking area is for overflow from, I'm sorry, do you plan on having any signage indicating that your parking area is for overflow for the consulate?
If the city permits it, any signage should be, I think, permitted first. But yes, we will allow signage saying Iraqi consulate, clients welcome, or something like that. Yeah, and that's up to engineering, I think, and with the planning also department.
Commissioner Culpepper.
To the chair, thank you. First point of clarification, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
At our second study meeting, the question did come up from one of the residents about were they going to be allowed to use that facility, not the consulate, but your building. And if my notes serve me, well, you're smiling because you...
She kept trying.
Right, because what you said then is not what you're saying tonight to answer the first
Well, I answered the question the lady just addressed today. Yes, we will be open to the public, which including, of course, the neighbors. I mean, we will do that, of course. I never said we were not going to serve the public. We said majority of our clients will come from the Iraqi consulate clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to be semantics, but that was a statement you made.
But I mean, how
Okay,
many? Yeah.
you said
yeah.
majority, you answered
Oh
the
yeah,
question.
sure.
So
we will
again,
serve. We'll be happy. We are a business, guys. I mean,
Yeah, I have no issue with that, but you know,
the
like I
more the
said,
merrier. But
the minutes would tell, and like I said, I wrote it down. When she asked the question, I looked at my minutes, the
Yeah.
notes, and the question was asked.
you're right. You're right,
And-
sir. I
okay,
think
no problem. We good.
Gina
But it will-
addressed that a few times, and I never responded
Okay,
because it's
so
not
good.
an issue.
Now, getting to me, let me say, we got the pictures from the residents that showed the activity and non-activity, and we saw the dates. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're trying to do for this area, for your residents. And I went by there and looked at it and saw what was going on between the consulate and your building. And I had my little sheet here that says special land use and standards, and I had a lot of checkoffs that, in my opinion, that this project does not meet the special land use and standards. And I'll go into detail, if necessary, to the chair on the 7th that I wrote down that you do not meet. So appreciate what you're trying to do for your people, but it doesn't meet the eye test to me. So that's just my comment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Okay, personally, what you're doing, I think, is not going to solve the problems that we have over there, but the problems are not really all your problems. But I think what you're doing will help mitigate what's going on there. It's definitely not going to hurt. I think it is going to help some. We can't put everything on your back, all the problems and issues over there with the consulate. That's not your problem. Well, totally your problem. It's creating a problem for you. But if what you're doing is managed properly, if you really do pay attention to what's going on outside as far as the traffic and parking, I really do think it's going to help mitigate the situation over there.
I agree.
Hopefully, more facilities do open up where it'll take some of the pressure off for you guys over there and ease the traffic a little bit. But as it stands right now, there's not a whole lot that can be done. You know, so I think what you're doing could be effective, could help if it's managed properly and really tightly. And hopefully you will keep that in mind.
If I may, through the chair, just as a follow-up from the last meeting that we had, if you recall, there were pictures and videos that were actually shown to the commission. And at the time, it was noted that there were no dates on those particular images, and the residents did follow up with us. Those images were actually from October of 2018, so they were not recent videos or pictures of the particular site. They did send us the information that noted that they were from last year.
Okay, thank you. Terry?
If the commission's done asking questions, then I want to make a comment, but go ahead.
Another clarification.
Yes.
We're spending more time talking about the building next to this building that's here for approval than this Iraqi consulate. And I'm not familiar with why, it sounds like that building is violating all the zoning laws and parking laws, and why that's such an issue to this project, and how, can you just remind us all again who approved it or didn't approve it, or why that can be there, and why that seems to be the biggest issue, which is not even
Right.
what's in front of us for approval.
This Iraqi consulate was established prior to my tenure here, but I've been here 9 years, and 9 years ago, it was brought to my attention that there was a traffic problem, that the building wasn't big enough, and that really there's not enough of these in our region to serve the needs, that people come from far and wide, multiple states. Some may or may not speak English, so they may or may not understand the traffic laws and the local sign. I believe because they are a designated consulate, they're federally protected and exempt from local zoning, and that's how they got in there. Obviously, based on the volume and need, this site is too small. And I've physically been in there, meeting with them several times to help resolve the issue, and it is wall-to-wall people jammed inside waiting to be processed, and it was even difficult to get up the stairs to meet with the Iraqi officials. And there's been ongoing problems with the local street, the neighbors, parking, no parking enforcement. It's been ongoing, and I think it's the fact that they're exempt from local zoning. Why it's important in this particular case is they are providing a service that may alleviate some of the congestion, the parking, and the timing for people coming in and processing their paperwork. That's a good thing. On balance, if the Iraqi consulate wasn't located across the street and they weren't primarily doing business to support that, I would have less concerns, because independently this office reproduction, if it functioned on its own, may be suitable for this area. But what I was going to state is, and I've been struggling with looking at the pros and cons, the main concern that I have is the fact that it is located across the street and that we cannot control pedestrians going back and forth. There's going to be confusion with where people park, whether they park at the consulate, drive across the street, park at this place, drive back, whether they're permitted to park and walk across, and some of the issues with the neighbors and the traffic could be exacerbated. When I first looked at this, 15 additional parking spaces would help alleviate the problem. But my biggest concern is the lack of control for people going back and forth across the street. And I was going to note that the video that was taken was October 2018 and prior to you saying, you know, you're operating there. But what that clearly did show is that people from the consulate were crossing, and we can't be able to ensure that people cross at the crosswalk or cross at the intersection. That's my biggest concern with this. So if, Mr. Griffiths, if this was just a residential conversion to a reproduction service, and it was in the OS and it was on a main road and had separate access, off the main road, I wouldn't be concerned at all with it. And Mr. Spence and I spent time this afternoon really debating and going through all the special land use conditions, and he's going to read those in the record. And we score some pro and we score some con. But ultimately, we have to be concerned with public health, safety, and welfare. And as much as I would like to believe this is going to help, it's the unintended consequences and the things we don't have control over that worries me the most. And I'm very concerned about kids running across the street with their parents, or people crossing from the driveway to the driveway instead of going up. I mean, human nature is shortest distance between 2 points. And the way this is laid out, people being expected to walk up to 12 Mile, cross the crosswalk, then come down the sidewalk and enter the building when, do you have the clicker? From what I recall, the entrance to the consulate is right in this back corner. So you come in here. So is it practical to think that someone's going to walk up here, come here, go down, across, and enter, or walk up, come across, and enter, or are they going to just beeline back and forth? And again, if this road wasn't here, if these projects were adjacent to each other, I'd have less of a concern. If this was independent, completely independent of this, I would have less concern. It's this back and forth here between pedestrians and cars trying to make this back and forth that really concerns me. And Mr. Spencer is going to get into the actual special land use conditions. So that's why, Mr. Griffiths, that's why this thing is unusual, and that's why we keep tying it to they admit that their business model is to help relieve the situation across the street, and probably 95% of their business will come from there. I've also said, you know, I go into FedEx, Kinko's all the time. There's usually 2 staff. A lot of it is you just make your own copies, but they're also going to be providing photographic service, helping filling out forms, and which is stuff that the visitors of the consulate have to do anyways, but then they're going to different places. So those are the struggles that we have on this particular one.
Okay, thank you. I have a question too for the petitioner. If this doesn't pass, do you have a backup plan or another solution? What's your backup plan?
We never thought about that yet. My attorney's not here maybe to answer that question, because there's a lot of technicality behind that. Because what if we just opened any service, office service? We didn't say Iraqis. We didn't say we're going to serve those people who's bothering the neighbors. Then what? We're discriminating against the Iraqis? You know? But as Mr. Crow said, they cross this way or that way. They're already doing it. The Iraqi clients doing it already. They already roaming in those streets. They're already violating the parkings. They're already doing it. So what can we do to help organizing that and do it the legal way? Maybe we have to put, you know, pedestrian lines, educate them, hey, go to the sign and cross. We have to talk to them, and that's what we do. You know, with organization and proper management, we are assuring you that it's going to solve the majority of the problem. And we, you know, can't feel it or sense it yet till it's open and operating. And it's going to take a few months, to, you know, to do that. You know, we're eager to open and ready to work, and you know, there's a lot of investment in this property. So we meaning well, and especially for the neighbors and for the location. But we don't have a backup plan. We never thought it, you know, that's going to be denied or rejected, just because it's going to serve well the neighbors and everybody around. And it's a business. It's going to bring, you know, taxes, going to bring a lot of stuff to the city. It's an investment. That's how we looked at it.
Okay.
It's a plus.
Commissioner Culpepper.
Thank you. Let me say, we're trying not to discriminate. We don't do that. I looked at it, and to me, it's a safety issue too. I know it's hard, you know, people will take shortcuts and do whatever, but in my mind, if we prove something like this, we're saying it's okay to continue to do what you're doing, okay? We know that. You're providing a service, a service that's needed in that community. And as the planner said, unfortunately, the consulate is tied into it. Although this is not the consulate, it's tied in so closely that their interaction is gonna cause people, pedestrians, to go wrong. And God may help if somebody runs across that corridor and gets hit coming in or out. That's the issue. It would be the same way in my mind for anybody that was coming in setting up a business like that. It would be the safety issue of it. It has nothing to do with ethnicity or nationality. To me, it's safety. And the standards, that's not there. And I just want to make that clear. It's a safety issue with me. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Willis?
I think that brought another concern to me. Depending on our determination, if we reject this, are you going to continue still doing business at that building?
Business, and we are not approved?
The way you're doing business now?
We're not doing business right now.
You're not doing it? Okay, and so that would continue, that you would not do business?
No, probably we have to appeal or do something legal, through the legal channel, sir.
Okay.
And just to remind you, it's, right now, there are 2 residential properties, so they're not permitted to do any business. They have to come through the special land use. Regardless of what business it is, they have to meet those criteria.
Understood. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Griffiths?
So there's no win in this project, so here's why I would vote for this project, I guess, because there's 2 houses that are in this busy, dangerous neighborhood right now. So I don't think people are gonna wanna live in them as a house. So I think we're gonna be staring at blight and just, someone's gonna walk away probably. I don't know, if I had to guess. So it's already zoned for office. I think this is not some magic solution, but it is a slight improvement over the situation. So in my mind, that's why it can be an office building. And you can't control anybody that goes to any business in the United States, let's say. You can walk out in front of 20 cars right now if you want to. You can't stop that. So I don't think this is making it more dangerous. I think it's a slight improvement. I don't see how it makes financial sense, just thinking as a developer, architect brain. But if you're willing to put all this money into it, I don't think it's worse. So it's not an endorsement by any means, but that's why I'm going to vote for it as opposed to against it.
I don't know what it is.
It's,
Thank you.
is what it, it's a slight improvement, I think.
Okay. Okay, do we have a recommendation from the city planner? You guys all set? Any other questions, concerns? Okay.
Well, if I may, I'll read the special use standards, and as you know, we do one of these memos for each special land use, each rezoning request that does come into us. So there are a set of standards that are part of the zoning ordinance that we follow. So we do have a number of those. You do have a copy of that, and I will just run through each one of these. Special use standard number 1, proposed use or uses must be of size and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the OS Office Service District. Response, most of the properties along the south side of 12 Mile Road are zoned OS Office Service. Many have been converted to office uses already. However, because this proposal is to provide support to the Iraqi consulate, there is potential for continued adverse effects from vehicular and pedestrian traffic between the 2 sites, which could be detrimental. Number 2, location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of any such proposed use may be designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to occupants of any other permitted uses. Response, the proposed use is proposed to support the Iraqi consulate to the east across Glasgow for clerical work, filing, copying, photographic services, and assistance with applications. The main office across the street has caused numerous issues with parking in the area, and while a proposed new office will provide additional parking spaces that could relieve some of the parking problems, we believe adverse effects will increase from the amount of pedestrian traffic crossing Glasgow between the 2 sites. Number 3, proposed use must be in accordance spirit and purpose of the chapter and not be inconsistent with or contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Our response, this proposal is inconsistent with the chapter objectives, as the proposal would increase a possible nuisance. Number 4, proposed use must be of such character that the vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or the adjacent thoroughfares. Our response, traffic generated by this new use may be detrimental to and adversely affect the surrounding land uses. Number 5, proposed use is of such character and intensity and arranged on the property so as to eliminate any adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, glare, odor, or fumes. Our response, the proposed use of the property will increase adverse effects on the surrounding area. Number 6, proposed use or change of use will not be adverse to the promotion of the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The response, the proposed use will have an adverse effect on adjacent properties due to the increase in traffic, increase in pedestrian and vehicular traffic in the Glasgow 12-mile area. Proposed use or change of use must be designed to operate so as to provide security and safety to the employees and general public. The use of the property for office to support the Iraqi consulate has the potential to create both parking and pedestrian crossing issues between the proposed site, the Iraqi consulate site, and the surrounding area. Number 8, minimum floor area of the existing structure is 2,000 square feet. Our response, with the proposed addition, the building would meet the requirement. Number 9, proposed use must meet all the requirements of this chapter. Our response, the proposal does not meet the special land use standards. Under site plan standards, all the development features, including the principal building and any accessory buildings, open spaces, service roads, driveways, and parking areas, are located so as to minimize the possibility of any adverse effects upon adjacent properties and so as to relate properly to pedestrian and vehicular traffic safety. In response, while the plan provides for all the required development features, including additional parking to try and relieve the parking congestion in the area, the increase in pedestrian and vehicular traffic between the two sites has the potential to cause adverse effects. And finally, from a site plan standpoint, site plan does show that access is provided only to a major or secondary thoroughfare or freeway service drive, and that the proper relationship exists between the major and secondary thoroughfare and any proposed service drives, driveways, parking areas in order to encourage pedestrian and vehicular traffic safety. Except that access driveways may be permitted to other than the major or secondary thoroughfare or freeway service drive, where such access is provided to a street where the property directly across the street from such drive and all property abutting such street between the driveway and the major or secondary thoroughfare or the freeway service drive is within a multiple family district or any non-residential district and is developed with permanent uses which are other than single family residences. With regard to our response to this, while the plan shows proper access to secondary thoroughfare, the increase in pedestrian and vehicular traffic between the two sites has the potential to cause adverse effects.
And if I could, one other item to point out is that based on the 2,000 square feet, the parking required would be 8 spaces, 4 per 1,000, and they have 17, which exceeds more than our 20% threshold. So if this was a self-independent office development, the maximum parking spaces we would allow would be 8. And that just goes to the point where this is tied, whether it might not be legally tied to the Iraqi consulate, but the whole premise of this office building is to serve the Iraqi consulate. And therefore, that's why they're maximizing the amount of parking spaces there. So there would be a waiver required should this be approved by council. And for those reasons, that's why we just try to look at the standards of the special land use and site plan and weigh them out. And unfortunately, in this case, at least our recommendation for your consideration is unfavorable at this time.
Okay, so we have an unfavorable recommendation from the city planning department. Commissioners, do I have a motion?
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper.
I recommend unfavorable recommendation for PSLU 19-0006 based on the nonconformance to the special standards in land use.
I have a motion for unfavorable consideration from Commissioner Culpepper.
You need a second.
Do I have a second? Any support? No support? Okay, do we have another motion? Anyone else make another motion?
Commissioner, I would move for a roll call vote, a favorable or unfavorable. I guess we'll do it
We
this
need a
way.
motion.
You need
I
a,
would-
you can't,
Need a motion first.
can't even vote on it if you don't get a motion.
Then,
Sorry,
you're right,
Chair.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Sorry, I apologize.
Okay,
Would you
you're
like to
right.
make a motion?
No.
Okay.
Well, at least make a motion one way or the other, have it supported, then you can have discussion and vote, and if it either passes or it fails. Or you could postpone this for further discussion, but you can't not act on it.
Okay, Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone determination on PSLU 19-0006 until further discussion can be done and investigation of concerns with the Iraqi consulate versus the plan that was presented.
Okay, so we have, okay.
Point of clarification, can I second a motion that I'm gonna vote against?
Yeah, you're just getting the motion on the table
Okay.
for further discussion, then vote. You don't, that doesn't mean you're endorsing it, you're just getting it to a vote.
Okay. This is strange all around?
Yeah, right now we have a motion from Commissioner Martin on the table
Postpone.
to postpone. Any support for that motion? No, okay. So,
Can I support is the first motion still available for support?
okay,
Well,
No,
you'd
no.
have to start,
Let's-
what I would
let's start
suggest,
over. I'm
since,
sorry.
if I could,
I'm sorry.
I mean, you can always remake that motion. But since there was a motion of unfavorable that didn't get a support, and there was a motion postponed that gained support, how about we try a motion to approve, have someone second it, and then do a roll call, and then we'll see where we are. You can do that with a motion to make an unfavorable recommendation, but you already did that and you didn't have a support. So there's only one motion left to at least have a discussion on, and you don't have to vote one way or the other by supporting the motion, it just gets it to the floor.
Point of order, would a roll call vote require a second motion?
No,
No.
you could just ask for it.
yes.
To the chair.
Okay, Commissioner Culpepper.
At this time, I so move favorable recommendation for PSLU 19-0006. Thank you.
I'll support.
Okay, so I have a motion for favorable consideration from Commissioner Culpepper, supported by Commissioner Griffiths. We will do a roll vote.
Can I have a quick question?
Discussion.
Okay, well, you just ask if there's any other discussion before you go to
Any
the
other
vote.
discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Denson?
Thank you. Can we have something about the crosswalk, maybe a crosswalk designated so that people can know that they are supposed to walk to the corner or something?
If you'd like, you can make that as a condition of your
Second.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, are we prepared to vote?
Well,
No,
We have a,
question.
so there was an item that was brought up. You already have a motion.
To the chair.
So, You
might
would
add
have
that
to
as part of the
have, you would
motion.
have to have both the maker of the motion and the one that's seconded support an amendment to that motion, and then you can vote on it.
To the chair,
Okay, Commissioner
I'd like to
Culpepper.
amend, I'm sorry, what you say?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, I got to amend my recommendation based on what she just said.
I would say the crosswalk's a great idea, and every additional warning signage, watch for pedestrians that the city will allow or encourage to further just alert drivers and walkers that there's likely to be pedestrians.
Better signage.
Yeah,
Yes.
just appropriate pedestrian warning signage.
You okay?
Yes.
You want to amend my recommendation?
We'll just add that in with the crosswalk.
You okay with
So
that?
to the chair?
Okay, Commissioner Culpepper.
I'd like to amend my favorable recommendation to include that this area be put up with proper signage, meaning that you'll have crosswalks done, signage designating where to walk and where not to walk, in accordance with the Southfield City regulations of signage.
And,
In condition,
and,
I said crosswalks, first thing I said. And first of all, crosswalks, which I said first. Crosswalks and other signage designating walk area where not to walk.
Sure. I mean, we'll take
That's-
any suggestion from the committee or the
That's
council.
a condition
Sure.
of the recommendation of approval.
That's something, of course, we have to comply with, and we actually want the safety of those pedestrians or clients.
Okay.
Okay, so we
Thank
have
you,
a
Chair.
I support
favorable
that.
motion for consideration by Commissioner Culpepper, and it's seconded by Commissioner Griffiths.
So,
If I recall, there was a recommendation for roll call vote?
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Mr. Culpepper?
Could I have a question before I
Sure.
vote?
Yeah,
I recommended favor reduction.
yeah, but you don't have, you can vote against
But I can
that.
vote because of what went, okay? Right?
You can vote against,
Okay,
you just
all
got it to the floor.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay.
So you're either voting yes in support of the favorable recommendation with the condition.
I got it. I
Or
just
you're
want to make-
voting no against the
Yeah.
favorable
I just want to make
recommendation.
sure, I was just getting it to the floor. Okay, thank you. But you call my name again, sir?
Mr. Culpepper?
No.
Dr. Denson?
what is the,
The motion is
motion?
favorable recommendation with the condition of a crosswalk and
Yes.
appropriate pedestrian signs.
Mr. Griffiths?
Vote yes, support.
Mr. Huntington?
Vote yes.
Mr. Martin?
Vote yes.
Mr. Willis?
I vote yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-1, favorable recommendation.
So
Okay.
this is a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council. You will also have a council study session as well as a council public hearing, and they'll act on it next month.
Yeah, and if I may, that's the special use portion. Now we have the site plan portion.
Okay, at this point, we look at PSP 19-0005, the site plan review. Okay.
It's not a public hearing.
Okay, as far as any questions, concerns about the site itself, Commissioner Denson.
thank you. I would like to, add the, crosswalk on the site plan.
Okay. Okay, so we have a recommendation to add the crosswalks onto the site plan.
Can I call the engineer or the architect, if you
Yes.
don't mind?
And we'll get some,
Please.
okay. Yeah, come on forward, please. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Frank Hanna with JNA Civil Engineering. I'm the design engineer for the project. Address 18832 Rosewood Drive, Macomb Township, Michigan, 48042. It happened that I have a PhD in traffic engineering from the United Kingdom, and I taught for 8 years in New York for transportation and traffic engineering. I really appreciate your focus on traffic safety, and I think, yes, we should include that in modification of the site plan and include crossing to utilize safety of pedestrian crossing back and forth between the council and the office, utilizing the mitigation of helping the council with their work.
Okay, thank you.
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper.
Site plan, let me say, thank Dr. Denson for adding the crosswalk. As I stated in the beginning, there's a safety issue to me. I think this area is too congested, too small, and I'm just hoping, praying that we don't have any type of incidents. I agree 100% with the safety signs going up, the walkway, the different signs, no walk, whatever, will help. But as Commissioner Griffin has said, sidebar, people are going to be people. People are going to take shortcuts and do whatever. But to me, again, the reason I was against it is the safety. And I just hope that you do what you said you would do, is having someone out there when the traffic is bad, a lot, you have someone out there directing. Because we know kids would run and stuff would be run. But again, my no vote was because of the safety of that area is too congested. So thank you for considering doing the signage for safety, and I hope everything goes well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What are your plans for the landscaping? That would definitely, I think, make people feel a lot better if you made it look really nice over there.
Yeah, it's going to be looking nice. We're going to be adding some landscaping across the Glasgow Road. Also, we have landscaping in the south side of the project, which we will use also for snow plowing there as well. You know, the storage for the snow.
Well, what type of landscaping?
I honestly not the architect for the project. I'm the civil engineer. The architect is not present, but I'm not sure. We did follow the instructions from the planning department with the species they recommend to us, and we put them on the plan.
We have the copy of this landscape plan here.
Okay. Okay. Commissioner Willis, you had a question?
I do. Just looking at this elevation, I see you have a parking space that would be identified as handicap parking. Am I assuming that there's going to be a ramp then from parking to the door?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the door looks to be an average-sized door. Is this one a door that would be accessible by way of wheelchair?
I'm sorry?
Would entrance be accessible by way of wheelchair, just looking at the size of this door?
Yes.
Okay. I think, though, once you get into it, there's going to be another step or two to get to the living area. Do you continue to have wheelchair accessible access to the main floor?
From the north side, sir?
From
inside
the south side.
From the south side?
The south side from the
Inside.
from the parking lot?
Yes.
Inside the building. He's asking if you have anything inside the building. Once the person get inside,
Yes.
can you facilitate that?
We can facilitate, yes, no steps.
He said we can do it, no steps.
Okay, I want to make sure that's part of
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, is that it? Okay, to the city planner, your recommendations, please?
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, should you choose to approve the site plan, these are the conditions that we would place on the site plan, and again, these are the conditions that we would add, should you go through the process and approve. That the subject property is subject to approval of PSLU 19-0006 by the City Council. Receipt of waivers from the Zoning Board of Appeals for more than 20% over the required number of parking spaces, as well as a 3-foot waiver of side yard setback, a 3-inch waiver, I'm sorry, of side yard setback, 15 feet required, 14.75 feet provided. Final detailed landscape plan, sheet LP-01, must be approved by the planning department prior to the project being reviewed by city council. Exterior lighting will be shielded to prevent spillage of glare onto adjacent properties. Petitioners provide a sprinkler system for all landscape areas to encourage preservation of plant material. Petitioners execute a perpetual maintenance agreement for the landscape and parking areas both on site and in the right-of-way, which includes maintenance of any stormwater detention system. Petitioners implement the recommendations made by the Southfield Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau regarding site security. The building is to be constructed in accordance with the elevations shown on sheet A01, A02, dated 4/18/19, and A04, dated 6/25/19. Approval of the site plan and/or building elevations represented herein does not constitute nor guarantee approval for signage. Separate approval and sign permits must be obtained by the building department for any proposed sign. Bike rack shall be installed in accordance with Article 4, Section 5.29, Paragraph 12. No right turn sign shall be posted out for the parking lot. So in this case, if I may just go back to the plan here, there will be a no right turn sign posted on the new property so that you cannot turn right onto Glasgow. You would have to turn left, go toward 12 Mile. Reciprocal parking agreement is required, and a crosswalk and pedestrian signage shall be added between the two properties on Glasgow. So those are the conditions that the planning department would add should the planning commission decide to approve the site plan.
Through the chair, we did mention to ensure that there's handicap accessible into the building, onto the main floor.
Okay, duly noted and added.
Thank you. And your recommendation?
Well, it's subject to your approval. These are the conditions.
Okay.
Because we already recommended against the special land use.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, commissioners,
Are you ready for a motion?
ready for a motion?
I would move for favorable approval of, I'm sorry.
PSP 19-0005.
That's the one, yes.
I'll support.
Okay, I have a favorable motion from Commissioner Willis, supported by Commissioner Griffiths. Do we need a roll call? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, do a roll call.
Roll call vote. Okay, Mr. Culpepper.
No.
Dr. Denson.
Yes.
Mr. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Huntington.
Yes.
Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. Willis.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the motion passes 5-1.
Okay, thank you.
Favorable.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
your
luck
comments
to
and
you.
help.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you. Bye.
Next on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes.
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I move the minutes from August 14th, 2019 study meeting and August 28th, 2019 regular meeting be approved.
Support.
Okay, we have a favorable motion from Commissioner Culpepper and supported by Commissioner Willis. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so the minutes pass as stated. Public comment.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at this time, you can open up the floor for public comment. As usual, if anyone doesn't want to make a comment, they do have 3 minutes.
Okay, so I guess we have to open up the public hearing.
It's not a public
Well,
hearing,
not,
just open for
just
public
comment.
comment.
Just public comment, okay. Is there any public comment today? Okay, nope, so that portion has been closed. Any miscellaneous?
Through the chair.
Commissioner Willis?
Dr. Terry or Jeff, at our last session, we talked about Farm Brook, and someone brought up the Michigan Right to Farm Act and suggested that there were size restrictions and rather than going off to figure out what it is, I would wonder if we would have at least take a look at by our legal city attorney and determine if that's an act that affects us positively or negatively, unless you can share that with us now.
Mr. Spence can share some.
Yeah, so after the particular comment was made, I do have a copy of the Right to Farm Act on my desk.
Okay.
So I wanted to take a look at it myself. Basically, what the Right to Farm Act was put in place was because number of people were moving out into the greenfields, quote unquote, greenfields areas, farmland, subdivisions and so on. Right to Farm Act was put into place because people moving into the area started to complain about the smell or the noise of a farm. And basically what the act did was allowed people to continue to farm regardless of the activity. The activity was there prior to the subdivisions going in. It's a little more detailed than that, and I'd be happy to bring the Right to Farm Act, at least the act itself, to you at a future meeting, so at least each of you can have a copy of it. But basically, it was put in place so that farmers could continue to farm regardless of the complaints of smell or noise related to farm activity.
Thank you. And my concern was whether or not it would impact us with our decision on this property, and I'm good with that.
Okay.
If I could, wasn't there a requirement about unplatted land versus, was that the?
No, I don't recall that. Again, what I can do is I'll make the document available to you. I'll send it to you as a PDF, so each of one of you can then read it for yourself. Yes.
Okay, any other miscellaneous?
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.